This is the Angry Inch. Now, as you can see in here, if you can recognize that, that is a P2000. And this thing can handle a total of 7 drives. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes. It actually can handle 8 drives, but because I have a P2000 in there that I use for transcoding, I had to get rid of one of those slots. I did this build a while ago. I called it the Angry Inch. I built it as a fully functional, pretty decently powered Plex media server, and then I turned it into a Blue Iris server because I already have a really big Plex media server. Now, this thing has a built-in Wi-Fi card and everything that comes with the motherboard. It only has a single PCI Express lane. I use that for the P2000. It does have a 450 super small power supply in it, and I actually got rather creative in order to hook up all of the hard drives that I needed. I ran this thing for a while, and I kind of sort of ran into thermal issues, which was really, if you can see it on camera, it was really just a matter of not keeping it clean. Bear in mind that because it was a Blue Iris server and everything, and I wasn't really doing a whole lot of like hard work, I tried to mine with that P2000 for a while, so it definitely was able to handle all that heat. But what I really didn't like about it was the crucial mistake I made with the SSD. On the back of this thing, this side right here, an SSD is somewhere right around here. And I should have put a thermal pad on it, but I did not. So that means any kind of stress on that SSD would start to make that temperature go up, because there's literally just a hot air pocket right in there that does not bring it down. So that was my major mistake that I made with this. And I mean, also, I didn't swap out any fans. I don't know if these are gonna be higher fans than maybe anything I have sitting on a drawer somewhere, but you know, better fans usually can sometimes mean better cooling. So in today's video, I'm going to be taking this thing apart, kind of cleaning everything out, making sure the thermals are good and ready to go, maybe replace a couple fans, definitely add that thermal pad to the SSD that is going to take a while to dig into, and then that's it. And just turn it up, do a stress test, and go from there. First things first, let's take off this side. Now that we can actually see and get a better look inside, you got those 2 silver stones. It's the opposite side of what I just showed you. But you can kind of see how cluster effed this thing is. Like, there's an SSD right here, right? So because I was doing this as a Plex media server, I wanted a separate SSD that would just be the Plex data, the metadata, the thing that holds all the poster art, stuff like that. And then on the back of the motherboard has another SSD, but that is an NVMe drive, so it's much faster. So you could either use that in an unraid cache setup, or in my case, I ran Windows on it because I was running the Blue Iris DVR. And this was just a temporary drive for the Blue Iris footage. So it's basically the same use case, because Blue Iris can use the P2000 to encode video and everything worked really good. It's just heat issues, right? Because look at this, you got all the wires and stuff, and yeah. I really try to make this cleaner, but there's just not a lot of space to work with. The stock Silverstone fans, I think they're about 1,000 to 1,400 RPMs, right? Decent fans, but you know, they're the stock crappy Silverstone fans. So what I have is a set of these. Look at these. These are 2,000 RPM Noctua fans. These are pretty solid 120 millimeter fans. They move a lot of air. They're actually not very loud. I have 3 of them because 1, 2, 3. So this is going to be pushing a lot more air through this. And I already have a Noctua cooler down there that's cooling the CPU. But because I didn't upgrade the fans, that I feel like, alongside being dirty, really contributed to the thermal issues. At the end of this video, I'm going to tell you how you can buy this whole system as it is. Once I get it rebuilt, even though I'm selling it, I want to upgrade it because I was not happy with the thermal performance. I just have to battle test it first, run some, benchmarks on it, make sure everything runs good. But I think these fans, bumping up that RPM, getting a much higher quality fan is going to increase the thermal performance of this system overall. Hey, come here. All right. Got the power supply out, got the cage out. Everything is pretty much ready to just take all of these wires and just yank them out. Like, not even try, just go. This is where some of the creativeness come in. So I don't even know if this thing's still available, but as you can see, I put my own little heat sink on it. This is an M.2 adapter that actually takes an M.2 connection and turns it into more SATA ports. Because I only had 4 SATA ports on this little, micro ATX board. So I had to find a way in order to get more SATA ports without using the PCI Express slot because I wanted to use that for the P2000. So that was the biggest challenge. Finding this part, this one single part, was the key to making this entire build work. Unless I switched to Intel and used integrated graphics. But if I wanted to run a P2000, I had to have this. And for power, that was another interesting thing. So I daisy chained some Molex connectors, right, that hooked up to the fans because I was able to use this that goes into the back of the power supply that went to a Molex, extended it out, and that allowed me to control the other fans within the case. And then I glued this down, or I taped this down with double-sided tape, put a little bit of cable management stuff in there, and then shoved all that into one little area. So, this did take like a little bit of, creative problem solving just to get functional. Just kind of cool. Getting all of this cleared out and take these fans out. So if I'm gonna replace 3 of these fans, this should be a pretty good cooling upgrade, just overall. There it is. This was my crucial mistake, is that I did not put a thermal pad that actually connects it to the back of the case, which dissipates heat. Without that, it's just a air pocket bubble of hotness. So that's all I gotta do, really. This completely backfired on me. So obviously this case and this, micro ATX board is not exactly built for each other. But the spacing, I mean, as you can see, it kind of like lifts off. The spacing between where the board sits and the back of the case, like this is the thickest piece that I have. I would have to stack this 3 like together, put it on the back of that SSD just to make connection with that. And you put 3 of these together, it's just not going to dissipate heat. It's not going to be the same thing. So now I'm stuck with 2 options. So either 1, put it together with the upgraded Noctua fans and then just kind of hope that maybe the increased airflow is going to make it better, or 2, after looking through every single thing in my house to try to find anything that would be a solution, I came up with this. This is a USB capture device, right? It's supposed to be a really good one, but 4K, whatever. It just doesn't work. It's not the way that I want it to, which means it's in the junk pile, bound to be thrown away, but it has a fan in there. Now, I don't know how I'm going to make this work, but I'm going to take this apart. It really didn't take much. 4 screws. So this comes off. As you can see, this has a thermal pad here, and that keeps all these little chips cool. And then underneath this is going to be the fan. It has a little plug-in right there. Interesting. I'm really at this point where I'm not really sure what I'm doing or how I'm going to make this work, but this is a heat sink, and this fan just screws on, and it's powered by there. That's full YOLO right here. Okay, according to what it says on the back, it looks like I have it upside down. Okay, 5 volt, 0.16 amp. Hear me out. Hi, dog. I know you want to jump up on me, but just please. Oh, okay. Do you feel better? I'm working. These are extremely tiny wires. Power supply. Got it down to probably bring down the amperage there. Let's bring it up just a little bit. There you go. Okay, so I got it barely at 4.95, and now I'm just gonna hook up the red and black, and I'm gonna see if this blows up. Wish me luck. Perfect. For my next trick, bear with me, and this might explode on me. So this is the resistor that it's a noise reducer. I just took it apart. I used one of the connections over here, which I don't know why, but that's what I did. So that goes over here. That is connecting to my ohm meter, which I am going to turn that on to 12 volt because that's what this is initially going to start at. So I have this running through that, and I'm going to see what voltage this reduces it to. And yeah, I think, let's turn it on. Okay, so 11.97. I have no amperage draw though. 11.92. Bring this down a little bit below 12. Give or take some change. Doing some mad science wiring right now. So this thing, this resistor, it's kind of wired weird, 5.5. It's climbing, 5.6. And it's getting louder. This is a noise reducer thing that I just took apart, of course, and I've been trying different sizes and everything, and just trying to see which one would be able to sustain a lower voltage better. And this one just seems to climb, like it'll just keep going and going. Now this is a smaller one than the other one, and 2.4 2.46, 2.5, still running that 12 volt. Hypothetically speaking, I could run one of the voltage reducers kind of like in a mad scientist wired sort of way to the back. That would just give it a little breeze of air, right? Which I think would solve most of the problems. It doesn't have to be a full 5 volt worth of air, but just something, you know, just a little bit. After getting basically all of the electronics worked out, what I was going to use to do it, I was even going to use these. Like, I have pens. I can go through and depin and repin these things. And I was going to get everything set up. And as you can see, that would be roughly right about there is where the SSD on the back would be. So essentially, here's what I came up with. With that thing running at 5 volts, it's a very low powered motor, as you would expect. I really just kind of felt it and tested it out and saw what kind of air pressure would be. And I was going to have to drill holes into the case to mount this up. And then I was going to have to drill holes for a fan, right? For the mesh. That way it could still push air out. The only problem with that is that this thing just doesn't pull, because this would be a pull and not a push. And just because of the way it is. Like it's pulling air out. So if it's going to be pulling air out, it would do no different than just having holes in the case, right? So drilling into it and adding this and doing some kind of weird fancy thing, it's really not going to give me any benefit, which is kind of a letdown because I thought that would be kind of cool. But looking at the case, I mean, underneath here, like you do have a slot underneath it that kind of gives you, like, I mean, you can see, kind of gives you a little bit like of room above and beyond, or above and below it. It just doesn't have anywhere to go, which gives you that heat pocket. So the best solution is if I'm going to be pulling air or pushing air out of this case and then out to the exterior, and it needs some airflow, some path of an airflow that's going to get behind the motherboard, it really just needs like a pattern of holes right here. That's really what it needs, just a pattern of holes. Drilling into it, making, you know, major modifications cosmetically, and if it was my server that I was actually going to like deploy again and use again and actually, you know, just be mine, then, you know, I would honestly do it. But I'm really just kind of fixing this, trying to get the temperatures going, upgrading the fans, adding some Noctua fans. I'm just kind of on this path of just making sure it's up and running and trying to fix some of the basic thermals. So as a easy way out, I am going to add a small thermal pad, a small heat sink, like just a M.2 heat sink. That way it just doesn't get out of control. Shouldn't be too crazy. And then I'm gonna put it on the back. And then, you know, that may or may not work. It may or may not help it too much. I'll test it out, run some numbers and see how it kind of turns out. But at least that'll avoid me permanently modifying the case and drilling holes in it and possibly making it messed up. Because at the end of the day, I just want to make this a nice, solid, plug-and-play server that anybody could use. Got the Noctuas. And now... there we go. Just move that over a little bit. All right. Good enough. This is the copper heatsink that I'm going to put on it. Honestly, should be fine. At the end of the day, this is just an M.2 SATA drive, so, you know, it's not like it's going to be severely hindered in performance by a little bit of heat. Making some overall pretty good progress, kind of putting everything back together. Definitely taking, you know, a little bit more time doing some cable management here. Just getting the cables tucked back, zip tied down to the fans. That way they stay tucked down. So definitely not done or anything, but I think I got a majority. Yeah, I got majority of the basic wires down. The biggest thing is going to be the SATA cables. The SATA cables are just kind of everywhere. That's going to be my stopping point for today. Yeah, I got some wires hanging out. Obviously got to connect all the SATA cables, stuff like that. Also have to put in the second SSD that sits right here, which is right here. How big is this? 500 gig. All right, so second SSD goes right there. And for the record, there is another SATA slot right down there. So if someone wanted to put another SSD in here, they possibly could. But with the P2000, it does take up that slot, even though this thing takes 8, so this will be 7 total. And then I want to find a better way to hopefully make this better cable managed. After getting back to it a second day, I was so close to getting this finished, but the big point here is keeping the airflow and everything to the P2000 good. And then, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna just say that my cable management skills are not pretty, but is not a lot of room I can really work with right now. I don't think I'm missing any parts, so that's good. Here's the power-up thing. Just gonna plug it in, see if it posts. And the moment of truth. Did I screw this up? Uh-oh. I guess, yeah, that would help. And the second moment of truth. Did I screw this up? Son of a... Yep. It's that thing right there. And the third moment of truth. Shut up. And the third moment of truth. Did I screw this up? Yes. I did not. Wait, is this powered on? I don't think I've ever actually used this monitor. This was sent to me months ago for a review and I completely forgot about it and or was not motivated to mess with it. BIOS has been reset. Please reconfigure your BIOS setup. Items if needed. Sure, that's normal. Got everything, there we go. Got everything booted up. The only two things I gotta do. One, I wanna run some stress tests. Two, I wanna put in a hard drive in each slot and make sure that I wired everything correctly on the back. So, I mean, it's just SATA and power cables, not that complicated, but I'm looking at 46 with a high of 58. So I'm gonna do like a little bit of a stress test for a while, make sure everything is good and kosher, and then kind of go from there. 68 degrees. That's, God, I feel like that's 15, 20 degrees cooler than what it was before. I mean, we're running 4.08, 8 cores. It's just burning through the CPU doing a stress test. And yeah, those Noctua fans made a huge difference, like huge. I had to make a couple changes to the BIOS, so this is only reading the stock like 21, whatever, 33 or something. So I had to go in there and enable the 3200 for the RAM, which ultimately is gonna make everything run a lot better. Also, I changed the fan profile on the CPU. It was still like going full throttle on the CPU. I mean, you're looking at 66 running the CPU test. But I did not build this for quietness, right? If you listen, it's not exactly quiet. The entire idea is that while this has a full set of 7 different hard drives in there, that it needs these fans constantly blowing on those hard drives. So if you have those set for PWM, I mean, yeah, sure, you could work something up and make it work, but my idea was just like full send all the time, keep those hard drives nice and cool. That way you won't have any kind of problems. But so far I got good temperatures, speeds are running really great on this thing. The only thing I'm gonna do now is let this CPU bench test run overnight and just kind of see if it shuts down or has any issues. When you grab the closest hard drive you can find, this is a 500 gigabyte one. Dang, this thing is old, but Western Digital, baby. Now that I've ran it overnight, everything looked good. Just gotta test every slot. This should be hot swappable. Wow, okay, so I haven't messed with this since 2015. That is an old drive. I wonder if any, I'm gonna look through this later, but it did pop right up, so that's good. Do it. There we go. Look at that. They all work. I'm starting to get seller's remorse. I haven't even sold this thing yet, but look at this. Look at this. I can make 43 cents a day if I just mine with it. I mean, come on. Come on. Now I'm just on a quest to make sure I find everything that I have with this. So this is actually the original bag with like the labels and screws I never really got into. Found all drive bays. This one obviously is blacked out just because that's where the GPU goes. Oh yeah. Gotta have that. I never liked how this stays on. Like if you barely touch it, it's magnetic, comes off. But makes it easy to clean. For the motherboard stuff, like for right now, I'm hooking this all up with just Wi-Fi. This is like a magnetic Wi-Fi thing, so, you know, makes it a little bit more portable. And I still have the box for the motherboard, including all the crap that comes with it. This is for the NVMe thing, but since I use the NVMe slot in order to expand the SATA ports, then I don't need that. So on the back, you guys can look at the list of the stuff, but on the back it only has an M.2 SATA, whereas on the board, on the front of the board, it has an NVMe slot. So yeah, I use the faster in order to get the best speeds out of the hard drives. And looks like I even have the keys. Yeah, because everyone locks their computers. That's definitely a thing. And then that's pretty much it. I got everything set up, found all the miscellaneous parts. Yeah, I guess I'm gonna actually sell this thing. Like, I have no use for it. I've always just kept old hardware until it's completely worthless. And then when it's completely worthless, I still keep it. But I built this literally just for a purpose of proving that I could build a really, like, a decently powerful, you know, unraid server, or in my case, I used it for a Blue Iris DVR that ran Windows 10. On that note, this hardware is all tied to a Windows 10 Pro license. So I'm going to download the latest copy of Windows 10 and then erase everything on the SSD and then just reinstall everything so it's completely fresh, just in case whoever does buy it wants Windows 10. Also, I just need to erase all the stuff I have on it. It doesn't really have anything important on it, it's just DVR stuff, but still, just gotta erase all that crap. But it does have two SSDs, both of which are 500 gigs, one of which is an M.2 SSD, the other one is just a regular 2.5-inch SSD from Samsung. So, yeah. I'm gonna get all my files and everything off of it, get it reprogrammed, get it packaged up, and then if you guys are interested in buying the Angry Inch, the 3700X Ryzen P2000 powered server of your choice, whether it's Unraid for Plex or Windows or whatever you want to run, check out my Discord link in my description below. You can go to the buy and sell. I will be posting it there. I'm basically going to sell everything at or really close to the price of what you would purchase the parts for now. So I'm just going to be using the online list, see what they go for from different vendors, and then just price it accordingly. Of course, all shipping and any kind of PayPal fees or whatever is going to be incurred by the purchaser. And yeah, that's about it. This is actually going to be the first computer that I actually bought the parts for, built myself, battle tested, rebuilt to get all cleaned up and upgrade because I found something wrong with it, which is the fans. And by the way, having better fans in a build like this, just for anyone who wants to build themselves this at home after this is sold or whatever, upgrade your fans. It definitely makes a huge deal. The stock fans are like 1200 RPMs or something like that, and the Noctua fans that I put in there, 2000 RPMs, definitely moves a lot more air, definitely keeps this temperature under control, because the CPU cooling fan, the low profile fan that I used, it definitely needs a little bit of help, some airflow, just to keep things at a reasonable temperature. Well guys, that is about it. So check out the Discord. That's all I gotta say. Like and subscribe below, and have yourself a great day.